Okay, so picture this. You finally book that dream European vacation, right?
Yeah.
Cobblestone streets, charming cafes, stunning scenery.
Yeah.
But here's the catch.
What's that?
What if your idyllic getaway gets derailed by like canceled flights or scorching heat waves or even, a volcanic eruption?
Yeah, it seems like these days even idyllic escapes aren't immune to a little bit of crisis.
Right. So to help us navigate this new reality, we're diving deep into this report from the European Travel Commission.
Oh, yeah.
It's called Crises in Tourism, Impacts and Lessons from European Destinations.
Okay.
They just published it in September 2024, and it's packed with insights into how recent events have reshaped European tourism.
Yeah, and one of the things that I found really fascinating about this report is how it uses the term permacrisis to describe the current state of things. It's not just isolated incidents anymore.
No.
It's this feeling of constant instability and unpredictability.
Permanent crisis.
Yeah.
Wow, okay, that sounds intense. Where did that term even come from?
Well, the term was actually coined by the World Health Organization back in 2022
Right.
when they declared the European region to be in a state of permacrisis.
Hmm.
And, when you think about how interconnected everything is in Europe, especially in the tourism sector,
Yeah.
it makes sense that they'd be particularly vulnerable to these ongoing challenges.
Yeah, and speaking of challenges, the report breaks down the types of crises affecting European tourism into four main categories:
Okay.
environmental, geopolitical, socioeconomic, and technological.
Okay.
So let's start with environmental crises because it seems like climate change is really throwing a wrench into travel plans these days.
Oh, absolutely. Climate change is having a major impact.
Yeah.
And the report really dives deep into the impacts of extreme weather, which
Yeah.
is something that every traveler needs to be aware of. We're talking about heat waves so severe that they're forcing popular attractions to close.
Oh, wow.
Greece, for instance, had to close the Acropolis in both 2023 and 2024
Oh, wow.
because temperatures hit a staggering 45 degrees Celsius.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, it's hard to even fathom exploring ancient ruins in that kind of heat.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Not only would it be uncomfortable, but it could also be dangerous.
Exactly. It became a serious health risk. And, the Greek authorities actually had to deploy volunteers and first aid workers to help tourists cope with the extreme heat.
And it's not just the heat either. In 2023, Rhodes experienced those massive wildfires,
Right.
which the report calls the biggest evacuation in Greek history. 19,000 people, mostly tourists, had to be evacuated.
Yeah, that's a lot of people.
I mean, I can't imagine having a vacation disrupted like that.
Yeah, it really highlights the importance of having travel insurance and being prepared for the unexpected.
Yeah.
But it also raises questions about how destinations are going to adapt to these increasingly frequent and intense weather events.
You're right. It's a real wake-up call. The report also mentions the devastating floods that hit Slovenia in 2023.
Oh, yeah?
They caused significant damage to infrastructure, forced event cancellations, and led to closures of some hiking trails.
Right. But while the floods were devastating, it's important to note that the report also highlights that many key tourist attractions remained open and operational. It's a reminder that even during a crisis, impacts can vary significantly within a country.
That's true.
So it's always best to, do your research and don't write off an entire destination based on isolated incidents.
Good advice. Okay, so let's move on to geopolitical crises because it seems like even conflicts happening far away can have these ripple effects on tourism. The ongoing war in Ukraine is a prime example, isn't it?
It absolutely is. The war has really impacted how people perceive Europe, particularly in markets like the US and Canada,
Yeah.
leading to travel slowdowns. It's understandable. People become more cautious when there's instability in a region.
Yeah, for sure. And geographically speaking, which countries saw the biggest impact?
Well, according to the report, Latvia, Estonia, and Lithuania, all located close to the conflict zone, experienced the most significant drops in tourist arrivals.
Yeah, I can see how the proximity to a conflict would make people hesitant to travel there. But there's also the economic side of things to consider. The loss of Russian and Ukrainian tourists must have had a significant impact as well.
It definitely did. Those two markets represent a huge chunk of global tourism spending, around 3%, which translates to a whopping 14 billion US dollars in 2020 alone.
Wow.
And this has been a huge adjustment for destinations that were heavily reliant on those markets like Cyprus, Montenegro, and Turkey.
Yeah,
They've been scrambling to attract tourists from elsewhere to fill the gap.
it's like a domino effect. One global event can trigger a cascade of consequences for the entire tourism industry.
Exactly. And this brings us to our next category, socioeconomic crises.
Okay.
We're talking about disruptions caused by internal factors like strikes, protests, anything that really disrupts the normal flow of travel.
So what kind of events fall under this category?
Well, the report gives the example of the nationwide transport worker strikes that hit Germany in spring 2024.
Yeah.
They really threw a wrench into the system, leading to flight cancellations at major airports like Munich, Frankfurt, and Hamburg. There were even port closures.
Wow.
Munich airport was actually closed for 2 whole days.
2 whole days. That must have been a logistical nightmare for travelers. How many people were affected?
A staggering 200,000 passengers were impacted by the Munich airport closure alone.
Wow, that is wild. We talk about travel disruptions, but that is on a whole other level.
It is. And it really underscores how interconnected and fragile our transportation systems are.
Hmm.
We rely so heavily on things running smoothly,
Yeah.
and when they don't, the impact is widespread.
Okay, so we've covered environmental, geopolitical, and socioeconomic crises,
Right.
which leaves us with technological crises, which honestly in our digital age feels like it could be an entire deep dive on its own.
You're telling me technology has revolutionized travel, but it's also introduced new vulnerabilities.
Yeah,
And cybersecurity is a huge one.
right. Cybersecurity is something we hear about all the time these days.
And the report emphasizes just how critical it is for the tourism industry to take cybersecurity seriously. It's not just about protecting personal data anymore. It's about safeguarding entire systems from attacks.
Right, and then there are the inevitable IT system failures that seem to happen at the worst possible time. I bet the report has some examples of those too.
Oh, absolutely. Remember the chaos at UK airports in 2024?
Oh, yeah.
Electronic gate failures caused massive queues and delays for passengers. It was a logistical nightmare. And we can't forget about the British Airways IT meltdown in 2023 that resulted in 175 canceled flights.
Ugh, can you imagine being stuck in line for hours or having your flight canceled because of a computer glitch?
It's incredibly frustrating. And it's a stark reminder that even the most sophisticated systems can be incredibly fragile.
Okay, so it's clear that European tourism has been facing a barrage of crises in recent years, but it seems like the report doesn't just focus on the problems, right?
You're right. The report also dives into solutions and adaptations. And this is where it gets really interesting, because it highlights the evolving role of national tourism organizations, or NTOs for short,
Okay.
in managing these crises. They're becoming much more than just marketing agencies these days.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So what are NTOs doing differently? It sounds like they're stepping up in a big way.
They are. Think of them as crisis coordinators, communicators, data analysts, and even reputation managers.
Wow.
They're taking on a much more active and strategic role in dealing with these disruptions.
So it's about anticipating problems, having plans in place, and responding effectively when things hit the fan.
Exactly. The report outlines several key roles that NTOs are now shouldering.
Okay, so give us the rundown. What are these key roles?
Well, first and foremost, NTOs are becoming the go-to communicators during a crisis. They provide updates, reassure travelers, combat misinformation, and serve as trusted sources for stakeholders and the media. They're like the voice of reason amidst the chaos.
That makes a lot of sense. People need a reliable source of information when things are uncertain. And it seems like their experience during the COVID-19 pandemic really helped them hone these communication skills.
Oh, absolutely.
Hmm.
Remember how crucial they were in disseminating information and managing expectations during the pandemic? It was a real trial by fire, and it proved how valuable NTOs can be in a crisis.
Yeah, it's reassuring to know that they're prepared to step up like that. What else are they doing?
Well, besides being amazing communicators, they're also becoming facilitators and coordinators.
Okay.
They bring together high-level decision makers and industry representatives to ensure a coordinated response. It's about breaking down silos and fostering collaboration to tackle the issue head-on.
That's really smart. It's not just about one organization handling everything. It's about a collective effort.
Right. And NTOs are also becoming data aggregators.
Okay.
They're in a unique position to track the impact of a crisis and monitor the recovery using data to guide their decision-making.
So they're making data-driven decisions, which is always a good thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And let's not forget their role as safety and reputation monitors.
Right.
NTOs are keeping a watchful eye on visitor safety and proactively managing their country's image abroad. It's about damage control and rebuilding trust after a crisis.
Yeah, that's so important. Sometimes those negative perceptions can linger long after a crisis has passed. So having someone actively working to counteract that is crucial.
Absolutely. And finally, NTOs are playing a vital role in countering disinformation.
Okay.
ensuring that accurate information flows during crises. It's about fighting back against those fake news and rumors that can spiral out of control, especially on social media.
Right. So they're like the truth warriors battling against misinformation.
You could say that. They're committed to providing a clear and trustworthy narrative during times of uncertainty.
Okay, so we've got this new breed of NTOs stepping up as crisis management pros. But how does this play out in the real world? I'm dying to hear some examples.
Well, that's where the case studies in the report come in. They provide concrete examples of how NTOs have tackled various crises and the lessons they've learned along the way.
Perfect. Let's dive into some of those case studies because I'm really curious to see how this all works in practice.
Sounds good. And we can start with Greece again.
Yeah.
Remember they had to deal with both the Athens heat wave and the Rhodes
Oh,
wildfires.
yeah, those were big ones. How did they handle those situations? I'm really curious to hear about their approach.
They did a really good job for the Athens heat wave. They launched this really cool initiative called #CoolAthens.
Hashtag Cool Athens. I
Yeah.
love that name. Tell me more.
Well, it was this multifaceted approach that involved creating a dedicated website, a helpline, and even cooling centers throughout the city to help residents and visitors cope with the extreme heat.
So they were really proactive about mitigating the impacts.
Oh, yeah, they really were.
It seems like they were really on top of things.
They were. And when the wildfires hit Rhodes, they implemented this innovative program called Rhodos Week.
Rhodos Week. Okay, I'm intrigued. What was that all about?
Well, essentially, they offered free hotel stays to those who had to be evacuated from Rhodes during the wildfires.
Wow.
It was a way to restore confidence and support the tourism recovery.
That's brilliant. Not only does it help the affected individuals, but it also sends a message that Rhodes is ready to welcome visitors back.
Right.
It's a great example of turning a crisis into an opportunity.
It is. It shows how a destination can demonstrate resilience and care for its visitors even in the face of disaster.
So what other case studies stand out in the report?
Well, Slovenia's response to the 2023 floods is another good one.
Okay.
Their NTO really stepped up and efficiently managed communication during the crisis.
Yeah.
They were able to reassure travelers that most of the country was unaffected and still open for business.
Again, it's about countering those negative perceptions and getting the right information out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then there's Iceland, which faces the unique challenge of volcanic activity.
Oh, right.
You know, they got this impressive emergency response plan, specifically designed to coordinate responses to volcanic eruptions.
So their NTO acts like a central hub coordinating between the authorities, civil protection, and the tourism industry.
Exactly. And it's been very effective in minimizing disruptions and ensuring the safety of visitors.
Okay, so we're starting to see a pattern here. NTOs are becoming increasingly important players in crisis management,
Yeah,
and they're really stepping up to the challenge.
they definitely are. And the report highlights some valuable lessons learned along the way.
Like what are some of the key takeaways for NTOs?
Well, one key takeaway is that effective communication is paramount. It's about being transparent, providing timely updates, and countering misinformation.
That makes sense. People need to know what's going on and feel like they can trust the information they're receiving.
Right. Another important lesson is the need for collaboration.
Yeah.
Crises require a collective effort involving government agencies, tourism businesses, and even local communities.
So it's about breaking down those silos and working together towards a common goal.
Exactly. And finally, the report stresses the importance of data-driven decision-making. NTOs are using data to assess risks, track impacts, and monitor recovery efforts. It's about making informed decisions based on evidence, not just gut feelings.
Smart. Okay, so these are all valuable lessons for NTOs.
Right.
But what about us, the travelers? What's the impact of all this on our European adventures?
That's a great question, and it's one that the report addresses head-on. It argues that these crises, while undoubtedly challenging, are also driving innovation and resilience within the European tourism industry.
So it's like a trial by fire, forcing destinations to become stronger and more adaptable.
Exactly. And ultimately, that's good news for travelers. It means destinations are becoming more prepared to handle disruptions, more focused on safety and security, and more committed to providing a positive travel experience even when things go wrong.
Okay, I'm starting to see the silver lining here. It sounds like these challenges are pushing the industry to evolve and improve.
They are.
Yeah.
And there's also a growing emphasis on sustainability and responsible tourism practices. Destinations are recognizing that they need to balance tourism growth with environmental protection and social responsibility.
So these crises are pushing destinations to rethink their approach to tourism in a more holistic way.
They are. They're realizing that sustainability isn't just a buzzword. It's essential for the long-term health of the industry and the planet as a whole.
This is all fascinating, but I want to make sure we bring it back to our listeners. What does all this mean for their future European adventures?
Well, that's where we're headed next.
Okay.
We're going to unpack some specific case studies that demonstrate how destinations are adapting and what you can expect as a traveler in this evolving landscape.
Sounds like we're just getting started. I can't wait to hear about these case studies. So we've really dug deep into these crises facing European tourism, right from those wildfires and floods to strikes and cyber attacks. It seems like every time you turn around, there's a new challenge popping up.
Yeah, the travel landscape is definitely in a state of flux.
Yeah.
But amidst all these challenges, I've been really struck by the resilience and adaptability we're seeing from destinations and the industry as a whole.
It's not about pretending these problems don't exist, right? We need to understand their impact and figure out how to navigate this new reality.
Absolutely. And I think that's a crucial message for travelers, too. We can't let fear hold us back. We need to arm ourselves with knowledge, be prepared to adapt, and keep that sense of adventure alive.
It's funny, we started this deep dive talking about permacrisis and that feeling of constant instability. But after hearing these case studies, I'm actually feeling a sense of optimism.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's really inspiring to see how destinations are responding to these challenges. With creativity, innovation, and a real commitment to sustainability, they're not just reacting, they're actively shaping a better future for tourism.
Challenges often force us to rethink and reinvent ourselves, and that's exactly what's happening in European tourism.
Yeah, these crises are acting as catalysts for change, pushing destinations to become more resilient, more sustainable, and more focused on delivering meaningful experiences for travelers.
So, what's the one key piece of advice we can give our listeners as they plan their European adventures?
I'd say the most important thing is to embrace a mindset of informed flexibility. Do your research, stay updated, and be ready to adjust your plans if needed. But don't let that dampen your adventurous spirit.
Pack your bags with curiosity, a sense of wonder, and a good dose of adaptability.
Exactly. And remember that European Travel Commission report, we talked about crises in tourism, impacts and lessons from European destinations. It's a fantastic resource if you want to delve deeper. You can find it on their website, etc.corporate.org publications.
And while you're there, check out their crisis management checklist. It offers valuable insights into how NTOs are preparing for and responding to these situations.
It's a real eye-opener.
So that wraps up our deep dive into the world of European tourism and the crises shaping its future. We hope you found it insightful, thought-provoking, and maybe even a little bit inspiring.
And remember, even with uncertainty, the magic of travel endures. So go out there, explore, discover, and create your own unforgettable European adventures.
Until next time, happy travels, everyone.
Thank you for joining us on this journey through the future of travel. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more insights and updates. Visit Tourism, Capturing the Scene of Knowledge, a comprehensive website delivering the latest travel trends and innovations. Accelerate your mastery of the tourism industry, all in one place. Navigate through a vast showcase of comprehensive business-oriented tourism content, 99% pure industry intelligence, and 1% academic, curated for discerning professionals. Why subscribe to Tourism? Capturing the Scene of Knowledge. Make informed decisions. Instantly access key reports and insights from top sources across the tourism industry. No research required. All in one place. Why split your attention? A single subscription gives you easy access to thousands of reports, videos, and infographics just as effortlessly as watching a 30-second ad. Save time with curated searches. Time is money. Let our subscription save you both by delivering valuable insights directly without the endless search. Until next time, happy travels.